Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Hot Wall. Welcome to our new show. I'll just straighten up my duvet there. Welcome to the Hot Wall, our show where we rank football shirts on the giant wall. All the shirts from this year, from across the world, ranked on one giant wall from pretty rubbish to very, very hot. That is the Hot Wall. And I hope you're doing okay. Of course, at the moment, there's a lot of horrible things going on in the world. I should start by saying, of course, it's hard. I'm sure many of you guys have found it hard today. And certainly, I don't want to kind of ignore what's happening. Of course, stuff like football shirts can seem quite trivial when there's stuff going on. But I'd encourage us all, whether if you're someone who prays, of course, to pray for the situation in Ukraine. If you're not someone who prays, again, to do what we can, try and show support where we can. We won't touch on that too much, of course, during this stream, and we'll do what we do. But just a short message there. And of course, if anyone wants to talk about that sort of thing, we can do that, as appropriately in the chat or afterwards. And it probably would be more appropriate outside of this stream. But just wanted to mention that, of course. I hope we're doing okay despite that. I hope you guys have been okay. And it's good to see some familiar faces. Rabbi, John Carr, we've got Steve, Tom as well, Ballum. Yes, an Italian team shirt. I've got the Fiorentina shirt. This year's shirt, which I really like. One of my favourites from this year. Lovely purple number for today. But guys, I'm sure many of you know, as I said, I mentioned the stream before, what we're doing at the Hot Wall. But if you don't know, I'll show you now. We are looking at adding shirts to this giant graphic of football shirts, starting from the ice cube shirts, as we call them, the shirts that aren't hot, or aren't hot in my eyes, certainly. These are the shirts which I just don't like for whatever reason. We then move to this second tier. This is what we've called the candle tier, and these are the slightly better shirts. They've got a flicker of hope about them, hence the candle. There's some potential there, maybe some unrealised potential. Then we move to this tier here, though. This is the hot tier, the flames tier, and these are good shirts. These are shirts which I'd kind of, maybe pick up at the end of season sales or something like that. A shirt which brings something new to the table. And then we've got the volcano tier, the elusive, hottest tier. So far, we have only had one shirt into this tier. And that was the Belgrano away. Incredible shirt, which sadly had sold out, had been long gone by the time we were looking for it last week. And I'm pretty gutted because, to be honest, that would have been a good one. But there we go. That's our tiers. And if I just quickly switch to the main scene, and then I'll jump us to the site which we've been using for gathering the pictures and the releases, and that's Football Shirt Culture. Shout out to Football Shirt Culture. Just before we get into that, let me find the place we left off at last time. Tom says, hopefully a few more volcanoes, just say looking pretty bad at the moment. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that tier is going to be by far the least represented tier. It's going to be, quite a small one, I think, just because the standard is going to be high. We're not letting just any old shirt get in there. Only the best will get in that one. So I'm just gathering our position that we were at last time. I think we're here we go. I think the shirt we left it on Napoli, didn't we? That's the last place we left at. So if I switch us now to the correct scene, Napoli shirt was the last one we ranked, and you can see it here. it is in the lowest tier, in the Ice Cube tier. There we go. There's Napoli. Solidly in the Ice Cube tier with their flame shirt. AJT says, hey Phil, what's the fit like on these Fiorentina shirts? Yeah, this one actually was also from CFS, AJ. So this one, it fits kind of slightly slim, but true to size essentially. Yeah, this is the kind of replica fit, and not the combat fit. If you were to get a combat fit or player issue, you would probably want to size up, or you would want to size up at least one size. But this one in the replica and the standard fit, I've got a t-shirt underneath as well, but it fits really nice. It's, you know, a little bit kind of snug, but not a size up. It's true to size, or you can go true to size, I should say, on the replicas, on the non tight fitting ones. But yeah, I really love it. And Mike says that Viola Crest is something else. It really is. I love this one. It's it's one of my favourites. Let's start ranking. Let's go to Santa Cruz. Now, is this Brazil? This is Brazil. Shades of Sao Paulo, of course. This particular shirt I've not seen before. Vol, I believe we saw them before recently. And you can see, some elements of a Sao Paulo kind of shirt. I would personally, I usually rate bands of colour across the middle. I've said that before. However, I'm not big on the text in the middle. That looks quite cheap to me. A little bit kind of basic. I don't love. It just feels like, obviously, smaller, quote unquote, smaller manufacturers. They've got restrictions or limits when it comes to some of these things. But I'm not big on the text in there. That honestly puts me off quite a bit. It looks like the bands go across the back, which is good. But again, the sleeves feel like an afterthought there with the texture. I'm not sure what that's doing there. I'm not sure, the imbalance of the cuffs and the collar. They don't have to match, don't get me wrong, but the fact that the black is much thicker than the red, and then here it's a bit more even, it just feels like quite clunky. This is a definite Ice Cube tier. I hate to say it. Despite some nice elements, it really isn't anywhere near challenging those top tiers. I've just realised I'm going to group all my images here in a folder. We'll call that was week 2. There we go. So yeah, hate to say it. Any fans of Santa Cruz in Brazil? And Enrique mentions Brazil as well. He says, just in time for Brazilian shirt. Indeed, mate. Indeed. Welcome everyone who's joining. A comment from Matt says, we review Russian shirts or skip them. Matt, I mean, we'll cross that bridge if we come to it. Personally, my gut reaction to that is that I will review shirts as we see them on Football Shirt Culture's site. So we've just ranked them by when they've been released. But I haven't really thought about it too much, if I'm honest. As I say, if we come to a Russian shirt, we'll either skip it maybe, or we could review it. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge if we come to it. And a couple of comments on the shirt. Tom says, I actually really like the shirt, but plain. A bit plain, but does the job. John Cossage just doesn't work. AJ saying colour collars, wrong order too. Yeah, that's the thing, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but in my mind, it just adds a kind of notch in the cold column. Now here we go. Rayados. Now, was this the Club World Cup? Yeah, the Club World Cup home shirt. Interesting. Just a couple more comments as well. Tom mentioned badge is a bit of weird shape. What would you even call that? Yeah, what would we call that? I don't know. I don't think there is a name for that, honestly. Kind of has a vague, almost like an anchor. You can imagine an anchor kind of sitting within that kind of Corinthian style, the way it kind of... but anyway, yeah, I don't think there's a name for that shape. And yeah, AJ, exactly. Should be black, white, red at the torso and sleeve. Indeed. So let's go to Rayados here. Now... sorry. Monterrey. Is that the name of the club? I apologise if I've got this completely wrong. I see their nickname is Rayados. Gotcha. Yeah. See, we're learning about clubs here at First Corner as well as the shirts. So, if we look at this shirt, the first thing which you've got to love is that they've promoted it heavily with long sleeves, which I just like because I love long sleeves. I'll be honest though, that collar looks really weird. I don't know if that's just me, but it looks very wide. And even though I appreciate having more than one button, I have a bit of a pet peeve of one button collars, so at least there's two on there. But I'm not really sure about that one. Tom says, why does the Puma logo orange? Yeah, it is an odd choice, the kind of red. Although admittedly it is in the buttons as well. And there is a detail here which, for whatever reason, looks like the Italian flag, but I assume that is or should be colour matched to that. The colour honestly doesn't bother me too much, but it's just that collar. It looks very wide. And that's on all the players there. I'm not a big fan of it, and the way that the placket, which is the area where the buttons are, kind of extends almost like a fake stripe or like the start of a stripe. When Puma meet West Brom, well, indeed, Ragav, and Puma did have West Brom shirts, or they might even still do, I think. Yeah, I hate to say this, but I think this is actually going to be an Ice Cube tier, and that's despite some nice elements. Again, the fact that they've majored on the long sleeves, but of course, that's not going to be enough in itself. The details feel pretty basic, nothing too exciting. Yeah, I actually don't like this one. And even then, the first impression was, oh, okay, I'd like to see more. And they've got an amazing crest, but it's just pretty simple there on the shirt. So this is another Ice Cube tier, I'm afraid to say. So sorry, any Monterey fans, any Rayados fans, but it just doesn't do it for me. There's nothing which kind of stands out to me. Perhaps controversial, I don't know. And then some other comments as well. John Costa check to see the Western shirts pass their drug test before we rank them. Yeah, indeed, something like that. BM, hi, hope you're doing well. Thank you everyone who stopped by. I honestly, the couple of weeks we've done these streams, I have really enjoyed them. I've enjoyed the levels of chat, and it's just been really fun. I've really got a kick out of the conversation. Like I said, interesting at first glance, it's decent, and then the second it's borderline unbearable. Yeah, I think unbearable's harsh, but I really do think it's bottom tier. However, we move now to Bohemians away shirt. Now this one has a big story about it. A design back in 2020 or 2019? I can't remember. But a couple of years ago, anyway, this club released a shirt inspired by Bob Marley, which then had to be pulled because of a legal case from the Bob Marley estate. That design has been kind of reimagined now for this year in a new design, a fresh design with some new elements, and I really, really like this one. Of course, Ajax's third shirt this year is also inspired by Bob Marley, so it's quite funny coming out in the same year. But there's a lot of nice elements. Now, if we just look at some of the close-ups, I really love this kind of little call-out here, which references a gig that Marley had at the stadium. I believe it's the stadium that the club plays at, or certainly in the same city, in Dublin. It's certainly one of the top. It's not an Ice Cube tier. If I was to be critical, and we've got to be critical, I'm not just going to get carried away. I'm not the biggest fan of the watermark design. It's an iconic, I should say, image of Bob Marley. Don't get me wrong, but I don't love that aesthetic. I can understand it. It's clear. It's good to get that message across quite clearly, but that doesn't feel to me like a top tier design. It just feels a bit kind of obvious. Maybe that's being harsh, but I do love the colours, of course. Like the Ajax shirt, but you've got that nicely executed. The sponsor works well, so this is a very, very good shirt. Don't get me wrong, and it clearly communicates the story. I think we love a good story. Like I said, I honestly feel like the white base colour lets it down. United's Holy Trinity shirt suffers from it too. Would love this in black or navy. Yeah, I think I'd like to see it in different colours, but at the same time, it's kind of nice having a different flavour to the Ajax shirt. Again, not to compare us too much to the Ajax shirt, but it is another Bob Marley-inspired design. Um, I don't love that back neck detail as well. And again, I'm being kind of picky here. This is a very good shirt, but I think in my mind, it's approaching the volcano tier without being a volcano tier. There's just little things which aren't to my personal taste. Now that's not to take away from this being a great shirt, but yeah, I just again comparing this, I hate to say the Ajax shirt again, but I much prefer the kind of three birds detail. Although of course, if that was on here, it'll be too similar. But no, I think this is going to go in the flames tier without going into the volcano tier. I wonder. I mean, Tom mentions volcano. Surely, honestly, I'd understand if people put this in the volcano tier in the top tier. But for me, it's going to be slightly shy of that. When I look at our list so far, guys, when I look at what we've ranked so far, I think this is more akin to the shirts we've got in this tier. I honestly would put the Belgrano shirt ahead of this one. Don't know what you think. Don't know what you think. Maybe that's me being a bit too harsh, but I'm going to stick it down. I say down. It's still in the second tier. We're gonna put it nicely up here. It's a great shirt, but just a few things. Again, the pattern with Bob Marley. I can't think how I would prefer the pattern to look. Maybe this. If it was me, I'd have this detail as a nice kind of back neck detail, and then something a bit more. I think a bit more kind of timeless as a pattern on the front. That's just me. That's just me. By timeless, I mean a bit less obvious, a bit more kind of just something which looks good as a football shirt with maybe something element of Bob Marley. There we go. That's my thoughts. Perhaps controversial, as I say, but it's in the flames tier. It's a hot shirt for sure. Just not quite hot enough for me. Would love to know what you guys think though. We'll move to the next page. Nonetheless, we will move to page 7. And we'll start from Bob. We're going in reverse order here. We are catching up. We will eventually catch up. I think at this rate, maybe I'm talking too much per shirt. Because otherwise we're never going to reach the current day, present day. Estudiantes. Club with some great kits of the past, great history. This one's a really interesting one. Of course, it's hard to kind of not look at this and think any number of teams that have a similar style. Certainly kind of Bilbao comes to mind. But I mean, that crest is lovely. It's a simple kind of style in the patch style, but I really, really like their crest. And even though we're not ranking crests here out of the Hot Wall, yeah, it definitely plays a part. In terms of other elements, it is relatively simple. This isn't one of the best shirts of the year by any means. They've incorporated the sponsor, reasonably okay. And in this example, I think the cuffs work well because it mirrors the collar, and I like that. Even though it's only halfway round the black, it kind of there's a nice symmetry with the way the black works on the collar, and even the way the stripes continue on the sleeves. This is honestly a completely fine shirt, and it's nothing in the top tiers, but it's certainly even in its simplicity, I would rank this higher than any of the Ice Cube tier shirts. This is a candle shirt for me. As we've said, sometimes a kind of cool candle, perhaps. Not anything particularly high within the candle tier. But yeah. Steve is saying, "Could see an Argentinian team without a shield crest too. So many crests are so similar in Argentina." Indeed, mate. Indeed. No, I really like. If we're going on crests alone, this is one of the best crests we've seen so far. I really like that one. And yeah, it definitely factors in, even though we're not ranking crests here. It's going in the candle tier, but this is the kind of thing where manufacturer Rouge or Rugi, I don't know how you say their name. This is definitely I'd like to see more from this manufacturer. Instantly, I'm going to turn on my ad blocker. I forgot to turn that on, and yeah, I'm going to turn it on just to kind of just to clean up the experience there. Let's continue with the away kit. The Estudiantes away kit. Ferron, says Enrique. Exactly. That's probably the first player you'd think of, isn't it? Now the away shirt. I don't think I like this as much as the home, but there's some more nice elements. You know, I think the collar is interesting. I think it's probably one where the more I look at it, the less I like it. But you know, it's an interesting the kind of little kind of V call out here. I like that back net detailing, mirroring the stripe on the front. You got the kind of half and half cuffs again. I think this is a bit like the home, even though I probably prefer the home. I think this is again a candle t-shirt, honestly. Unspectacular, but it's composed well. The elements that are there feel like they belong there. I don't think this is. I think this is definitely in the candle tier, but I think you can make an argument that it's better than the home. It's certainly in that kind of ballpark. BM says I miss the puffy sponsors. The plastic print can't compare. Yeah, I think there's something to be said about that, about sponsor material. These kind of transfers, which have been the standard for a long time now. It's a shame you miss out on that kind of quality of application which older shirts had. So certainly it's something which isn't. Which hasn't got better, that's for sure. Just on the, I'll just quickly, yeah, that's good. Oh, I think I've accidentally blocked the entirety of the site. 1 second, guys. Let me switch over. I think in my eagerness with the ad blocker, I managed to block the entirety of football shirt culture, which was a bit too much. If we just look here. Now, I think that's better. Let's get back. Apologies for that. Got a bit too hasty. Sporting Crystal. Now this one, I think I tweeted about this at the time, shares a pattern with Manchester United's away shirt from a few years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. You may remember, United's one was a black or a grey design. The thing is, despite this being a pattern that we've seen before, I actually quite like the pattern. The key thing I think with catalogue patterns or patterns that have been reused by a manufacturer is that if they've not been used to death, if they've not been used too much, I don't mind seeing them pop up, and I think there's actually kind of a novelty to that, even though it's not bespoke. I also quite like the colourway, and the crystal sponsor is hilariously big, but I believe, I might be wrong, but this is, if not the sponsor that the team is named after, certainly a long-term sponsor, but I might be wrong. Any experts of Peruvian football can help me out there. But this one has some elements that I kind of like. Now, it's not one of the hottest shirts, and of course, because it's shared and the pattern doesn't go in the back, I think we're looking at a candle tier rather than a flames tier. We're looking at something in this third tier, but I think you're right, Steve. I mentioned the colours working better than the United shirt. I think it does, honestly. I think it is better than that United shirt. So even though I think if you can get over the large sponsor, and I think there's kind of a novelty to that, but I actually think this is candle tier for me. And one of the better candle tier shirts. I think because the pattern isn't bespoke, it hurts it. Although that's not to say that templates or template patterns won't potentially still land you in this tier. I think if the pattern went on the back though, and we had maybe some nice detail, which is definitely in this tier. But I think for now we'll stick it in this tier here. 1 second, guys. Just need to check something very quickly on my phone. Where are we? There we go. Cool. Yeah. as you said there, Stephen, I think the pattern, the colour is better. And I think BM with a good point there as well about giving it a water effect. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, decent, decent. Now we go to IFK Nork copying. Again, I've butchered that name. Are these Swedish? Yep, they're from Sweden. Nice. We talked about templates. This construction, or the base of the shirt, is the infamous Condivo template, or Condivo construction, which Adidas rolled out on several teams. Unfortunately, that really does harm this shirt. It wasn't a good template. The base construction here, there were some good examples. I think of something like the Japan away shirt, which did look quite nice. But we do have some nice elements and things that I do like about this shirt. Of course, that special crest, which does deserve a mention. Look at that. That is quite nice, it must be said. So even though this shirt is quite plain, it is, largely the white Condivo. There are some nice elements. We look again, something like this element here, where the sponsor would be, and I believe is that their foundation year. Looks like to be their foundation year and their title win seasons. Bit tacky, but I kind of like that. So I think there's enough here to save it from being, I think, certainly in the bottom tier, or it's straddling the Ice Cube and the Candle tier. I think honestly, I really value bespoke applications and interest in details, and I think that crest alone, does it save it from being in the Ice Cube tier? I think it does. John Carl says boy in white t-shirt, and I completely understand that, John Carl. It is essentially a plain white Condivo template, but I think the bespoke treatment of the crest and we'll call it the sponsor even though it's not a sponsor. Oh, I don't know. It is a shame to see that even on the back we've got a nice look. It's a small detail, but I don't mind that. It looks like it's sublimated in the material. I think I'm going to put this in the Candle tier. So it's just about survived the drop, so to speak. The Emerson's beautiful crest. I think it is really nice. In terms of like anniversary shirts of this nature, I think it's pretty textbook. It's pretty good. I think this says how much about I personally value things like a good crest. So I think it's going to go here. I think it will. We looked at a QPR shirt last week. I think it has, even though the base of the shirt is less interesting, it shares other interesting elements given the details on the crest. But it's pretty close to this tier. I'll stick it right at the edge. There we go. Yeah. If it wasn't for that crest, honestly, it would certainly be in the bottom tier. And Joe with an interesting comment saying, I wonder who's responsible for the logo manufacture on most of these template shirts for smaller teams. Sometimes they're pretty decent. Yeah, I mean, we could look at, of course, AIK in Sweden, another Swedish club. Often, from my understanding, it's actually largely driven by the club. So within the kind of level of contract that they have with the big manufacturer like Adidas or Nike, they'll be given a base catalogue shirt, template shirt. But I believe the club then work with the organisation or the division within the company of Adidas and Nike, and they can produce more bespoke or kind of interesting details when it comes to the crest and when it comes to other areas like details of the shirt. But it's an interesting area, Zhao. I'd like to investigate that more. Certainly with AIK, I think they've been a fascinating case study. We jump back to South America with Colombia's Envigado FC, a team I've never heard of. We've got their home and third shirts here, and like any good South American team, we've got a plethora of sponsors. If we zoom in, I don't know which one's which. I'm going to guess this is the home shirt. Well, apparently the home shirt is the orange, according to Football Shirt Culture. So we go to the home. This is the third shirt, so we'll start with that. A very interesting pattern, and you guys know that I like a good subliminal pattern. This one, which appears to be, might even be a bit embossed. I'm not even sure if there's some level of kind of depth there. I quite like that. So there's elements I like about the shirt, there's elements I really don't like. I like the pattern. Honestly, I think it gives it quite a lot. There's also a real novelty to what appears to be kind of two crests, and I don't know, we've got almost like a Cameroon situation where you've got what I assume is the club crest and a kind of something else which resembles a crest. That's what I like about the shirt, and I like the colourway of this third shirt as well. Things I don't like, that detail on the cuffs looks pretty naff to me, and it looks a bit untidy with the stitching. There's nothing too bad there, but I feel like, you know, those elements look a bit odd to me. Also, I'm not sure about this, what I assume is another sponsor, and I quite like lots of sponsors. There's a novelty there, but that placement to me looks a bit jarring. But despite the clunkiness, don't get me wrong, it is quite a clunky shirt, but there's quite a novelty to it. I mean, let's look at some more pictures, because I'm honestly, I think it's a candle tier. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this is one of the better shirts of the year. But yeah, if you look on the back, that name set's kind of fun. Yeah, if you're somebody who likes again, I really don't. That sponsor there feels out of place. There's a lot of sponsors on there anyway, but it feels like it could just be on the front. I'd actually rather it was on the front, despite how busy it is. This is a candle tier on account of its novelty. I'm sure many of you guys would rank this lower, and I'd completely understand. But honestly, I think there's enough to stop it from being bottom tier. Maybe I'm just in a good mood today. I don't know, but I'm gonna put this. We'll just scale it down as we do, and then I'm gonna put it in this tier. I think even just the colours. You know, if this was like just a plain white design or white and black, it maybe have a bit less character. But the kind of grey and black, honestly, kind of works for me. Now we go to the home shirt. Now this is quite funny. This has the kind of the full colour versions of everything to the sponsors, and that's not a great promo picture. But you can kind of see it's still got a lovely pattern though, and if anything, the novelty is even higher given the full colour. Now the colours are crazy with the sponsors, and that again, that I don't know what this is, but the kind of secondary crest. It's still not great. You've still got the kind of what I don't particularly like that. The cuff detailing. The manufacturer logo is quite bad as well. But there is, I think there's a novelty factor to this, which actually stops it from being bottom tier. I'm finding it hard to explain. We've copied the wrong shirt there. But, you know, again, it's still not working. We'll try once more. It's still not happening. I don't know why that's not copying. We'll try a more old school method here of placing the shirt there, and we'll grab it from our downloads. There we go. Yeah, this one it's funny because I think it should probably be in the Ice Cube tier, but it's charmed me. It's charmed me with its colourful sponsors and the slightly kind of crazy look. John Custis looks a bit like a bottle of orange crushed soda. Exactly. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting, and I actually kind of rate it for that. I say rate it. It's going to go in this candle tier. There's going to be some shirts in this tier which are just a bit mad, but because of that, I actually kind of think it's got something about it. You know, it's the kind of shirt you'd like to have in your collection. You'd like to have a few shirts like this, which are a little bit crazy. So there we go. Perhaps surprising, I don't know, but these two shirts, they're just the right side of crazy for me. Before we get on to Palmeiras, comment from Zhao saying it's funny because Sporting Lisbon shirts have poor logo placement. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Talking about logo placement, sometimes big teams actually suffer with things like applications, and not only the look of the applications, but even some of the smaller teams with template shirts show them up. Now the Palmeiras shirt. Palmeiras have had some amazing shirts over recent years, and I think, was it 1 or 2 years ago, their home shirt was considered by many to be one of the best of any team. This, I think, is a downgrade on some of those recent shirts, and I don't like these kind of necklines, the kind of V-neck, the wide V-neck, I don't know what you'd call that. Enrique with a great comment saying that Palmeiras equals palm trees, and they made a shirt of palm trees. I do, even though this isn't, I don't like this as much as some of the other efforts. I do like that pattern. I think, it's maybe not the best, or I don't love the way that kind of the pattern fades out with the gradient. Enrique mentioned the cream shirt. I love the cream shirt, just the colour of that. It's one of my favourites that I got from Brazil last year. I'm really, really high on that one. And yeah, this one, I believe they wore this, in the Club World Cup as well recently. So yeah, this honestly, I think this is a few changes away from being very, very good. And it's still good in my eyes. Again, the neckliner I'm not keen on. And I feel like the pattern, even though I quite like it, something about it feels a bit half-baked. But I think this one's going to be in the hot tier. I do think there's enough here where I could confidently say I would look to pick this up over many of the shirts in this in these first two tiers, in the Ice Cube and Candle tier. So I think this is going to go in the Flames tier. I think this is actually reasonable. Thank you, Enrique. They won the semi-final. Was that against Chelsea? I can't remember who they were playing. As Stephen said, I'm sure I had that promo shirt that he spoke about from a couple of years ago. The one that's similar to Italy Relations. Exactly, Stephen. That was a great shirt. Really, really collectible. But yeah, this one's honestly decent. I really think Puma and Palmeiras have a great thing going on. Sorry, Enrique. Al Hilal and the semis, Chelsea in the final. Of course, Chelsea in the final, yeah. Shows how much attention I was paying. Al Ali, thank you. I took you in for the... yeah, shows you how much attention I was paying to the Club World Cup. But yeah, BM said I like the sponsor. I like the sponsor too. I really do think, again, Puma and Palmeiras have a good partnership. They've had bespoke designs, and even though I'm not huge on the collar, I really think this was a few steps removed from being a volcano tier shirt. It's one of the best crests in South America for me. I love that. It's kind of wild, that Palmeiras crest, but it's really, really smart. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I really do think that's probably going to be one of the better shirts we see today. Shamrock Rovers. Now, talking of sponsors, this is a hilariously bad sponsor. In fact, this is one of the worst sponsors I've seen. Gambling sponsors, I mean, we could talk about those, but that's a subject for another video. But that is honestly just hilariously bad. It completely takes over the shirt, and it's not even, they've not even tried to colour it to match the shirt, the gold elements of the shirt. I can tell you guys now this is going to go in the Ice Cube tier on account of that sponsor, and it really is a shame because there are elements. I mean, the other thing, I really don't like those cuffs. They feel very odd, kind of very flappy. The back neck detail, a little bit on the cheap side there. Of course, people are going to compare this to a Celtic shirt, and I think, if again with a better sponsor and better cuffs, you'd be looking at a decent Shamrock Rovers shirt or Celtic shirt, but it's just not good. Inside neck detailing, a little bit on the cheap side again. Yeah, I really don't like this. I mean, I think the pattern within these hoops here is reasonable, and I kind of like that they've added that. You've got the diamond, so it feels like a nice kind of Umbro pattern, something you'd like to see on an Umbro shirt. But yeah, 888 Sport FC, exactly, Rabbi, exactly. I really just, I hate to say it, but this is just a bad shirt. It's largely because of the sponsor. If I'm a fan of Shamrock Rovers, I'm disappointed to see the sponsor take so much precedent. It's even just a bit big. It's not just the colour, it just looks big. Yeah, John Carlson's sponsor kills it. I really think, again, you just cannot overlook how jarring that is. And it takes away from the shirt in a big, big way. There's shirts in the candle tier here, which are just template shirts, but they just, they look kind of smart. They've got nice elements. it's just killed it. The sponsors absolutely killed it. So yeah, hate that. Um, it's just even just doing this image. You know, if you cover over the sponsor, you think, oh, something about that shirt, but no, it's there, and it's pretty bad. Now, this shirt, this Club Olympia shirt, I really like. Despite it being a relatively simple design, look at this detail. And I've mentioned it on a couple of shirts recently, today even, of how the kind of inside netting details feel cheap. This does not feel cheap. I love the design of this. What looks like a bespoke design, and it's quite, you know, that detail could be a little kind of poster or a little graphic. And this is the standard that teams should aspire to when it comes to inside neck details, jock tag details, things like this. This is top tier. It's one of the, just as a detail, I just love that illustration. It looks so good. And honestly, guys, you might be surprised to hear, but I'm genuinely starting to think about this as a volcano tier. Let's break it down, because the volcano tier is very high. We don't just want to throw anything in there. Now, what's probably keeping it from being volcano tier, and if we go back, you know, the only shirt so far as reference point is this Belgrano shirt. I think the crest, it's a relatively, the details are relatively simple over there. But I have a fondness for shirts with bands of colour, and even though it is, you know, it's black, it's a monochrome shirt. The collarbone sponsors feels kind of very J-Lee, doesn't it? I think this probably isn't going to be volcano tier. I don't think this is the top tier, but it is close, and it's largely because I love that detail. I think if it had just maybe something through the body or some other bespoke element, but the sponsors have been incorporated quite fairly. Enrique said Olympia played today against Nacional to qualify for the Libertadores. Honestly, I've been loving these updates, Enrique. Keep them coming, mate. Keep them coming. What does that say? Is it Champions of the World? Or it's only my translation might be completely off there. But yeah, this one honestly was a consideration for Volcano tier, just because how much I love that detail. And even though that neck detailing, that could be, I mean, it's not to everyone's taste. But yeah. Guys, I'm just going to quickly pause. I'll send us to the pause screen. But I'll be right back. Just before I do, I will stick this shirt in the Flames tier. This one really was close to the Volcano tier, just because of those little details. It's not quite there, but it is one of my favourite shirts we've seen. Let me just stick this here. I say, I'm going to leave us on the pause screen. I'll be back very shortly though. Don't go anywhere. And we're back. Apologies for the delay. Enrico, some more good knowledge. Thank you for your your pro tips or your pro insight, saying that 3 times champions of the Libertadores, which I'm guessing is the 3 stars there, and champions of the world in 1979. So great stuff. And BM saying very nice shirt. Never seen it before. Yeah, I just rate this. It's a simple shirt. It's not that far removed, but even just quickly on the design here, even though it's as a base, the construction of it is very simple. It might even be the same as as many other Nike teams of recent years. I kind of like this element on the collar and cuffs, that style. Yeah, I really rate that one. And anything in this Flames tier is the kind of stuff I'd be quite keen to pick up in something like the end of season sales. Although, of course, for some of these particularly kind of South American shirts, it's hard to find in the UK. But yeah, some good stuff. FC Seoul, we go over to Korea. I do recognise that manufacturer. Who have we got here? Prospex. That's a hilarious name. Feels like a kind of generic manufacturer name. Randomly generated one. FC Seoul has some good shirts over the years. I don't think this is one of them. I mean, if we look a bit more closely, I mean, it's not the worst shirt we've seen today. You know what? Looking again, I kind of like this pattern on the sleeves. It looks like the stadium there. Yeah, I think this one might actually be in the candle tier. Something about it is off to me. I think it might just be... it feels a bit like the sleeves are a bit too... there's like 2 different ideas here. And this can work sometimes, but it feels like you've got something going on with the body, with the stripes and the kind of... It's not my favourite look, but the kind of gradient stripes. And then the sleeves is going in a different direction. It feels... I guess it's that kind of raglan sleeve look where the sleeves are cut separately from the body. But yeah, just something about it feels like it's trying a few different things and maybe not doing any of them that well. But it's also kind of interesting. And, I think the sponsor is kind of fun, even though I have no idea who it is. They've got a great crest. And it's interesting that they've kept the sleeves are quite busy on the sponsor front. The front of it's relatively plain. So I think John Carl summed it up well. Top candle. Yeah, I think this is one of the better candle tier shirts. Certainly, for me, it's just lacking a bit of kind of definition or direction, which I appreciate is a very vague thing to say. But I'm quite happy putting it in the higher end of this tier. I'm just moving the wrong shirt there. Somewhere in this tier. I think this is on the Olympia shirt. BM saying, where can I buy the shirt? Club site only. Yeah, I mean, with Nike shirts, you may have a chance to buy it from Nike's store in certain countries. So, I would look, where are Club Olympia based? I can't remember where they're from, actually. Paraguay, that's, of course, Paraguay. So, check if Nike have a Paraguayan site or other kind of South American, Central American stores anywhere in that region may stock them. BM. BFC Seoul, interesting. I think. I mean, just on another negative, I don't love details like this where it just feels like someone's just grabbed a bit of random kind of text and stuck it on. Soul of Seoul is it's kind of a funny tagline, but yeah, interesting. It's a candle tier. It's got something. Now you see, guys, we go to the away shirt. I much prefer this, and everything I talked about, and I didn't know this was coming up, but this illustrates perfectly what I was trying to say. The home shirt, the body feels a bit detached from the sleeves. This one though feels a lot more consistent. I really like this. I love that pattern. And it continues seamlessly on the sleeves. This is hot. This is good. Really good, in fact. I really, really like this. I think it's everything I wanted for the home shirt, and we've got it on the away. Now, the collar, the neckline, I'm not a big fan of this style where it cuts off quite abruptly there. I'd rather that was just a simple, the design carried round. And indeed, maybe if the cuffs also went all the way around, we're even pushing volcano tier territory, potentially. The pattern does stop on the back as well, and we've got the same kind of pretty cheap detailing. But this is hot. This is Flames tier for me. When I compare it to the home shop, I much prefer this away. Just because, again, the sleeves continue that design. There's a lot of nice elements about this. So this is decent. It's probably the kind of lower end of the Flames tier, lower end of the hot tier. But I do like this, and I'm really glad this is coming because this has justified it in my mind at least. The things I didn't love about the home, they've kind of rectified. So there's the home there in the candle tier, but this one is going in the Flames tier. I really like that pattern. Just the aesthetics of that pattern as well, guys. Really, really strong. Really decent. Yeah, I like this one a lot. And I'm saying, the colours and collar and cuffs along with sponsor the pattern in white. Great shirt. I think it is a great shirt. I really do think this is good. Credit to the manufacturer. Pro specs, you know, they've outperformed their relatively lowly status. And I say that simply because I've not seen a shirt of theirs before. That's no disservice to them. Yeah, Enrique saying Flames. I really like that. Just again, look at that pattern. It looks like that's the element on the club crest. Really cool. Really, really cool. And it's something as simple as the fact that it seems to be the pattern is nicely aligned, essentially aligned on the shirt. It looks really good. It looks really good. John Carl said, can't sacrifice to volcanoes anymore. It's environmentally friendly. Indeed, indeed. Right, we're on to the next page. This is good. If we can rattle through a couple more pages, we are closing in slowly. Slowly. 1 second. Just respond to WhatsApp. Right, we continue. Let's put my ears again. Let's start from the bottom. Okay, some more interesting shirts to come. Barcelona. Not Barcelona of Spain, of course, but Ecuador. Carlos Tevez, I did not know he was there. Now this shirt is interesting. If we look more closely, trying to understand what this pattern is. Is it elements of the crest? Or I'm not really sure. I mean, despite this being, it's a bit cluttered. You've got, you know, a lot going on, but there's something about it which is kind of speaking to the candle tier for me. I think I actually, despite the sponsor being very large, there's something about beer sponsors I kind of like, and it looks like the red has been colour matched to the details, which I appreciate. And even the sponsors, there is a lot of them. There's a novelty to that. I've spoken about that before. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of funny because Marathon, the manufacturers, kind of get trumped by Discover, who I assume are a sponsor. It's somewhere between the Ice Cube and the Candle tier. Yeah, like you say, that's when I missed the Tevez to Barcelona transfer. Exactly. I think it, given the fact, you know, you've got the kind of course they've got a crest very similar to Barcelona. I don't know the story, but I know the clubs often play friendlies between each other. There is some sort of relationship there. I think it's probably in the Ice Cube tier, but it's going to be certainly one of the better Ice Cube tier shirts we see. I think that pattern, the more I look at it, the less I like it. It's yeah, but it's it was closing in on the candle tier. It was fighting the relegation zone, so to speak. Oh, you know what? I'm going to stick it in the candle tier. I think the novelty factor, the beer sponsor, stops it from being in the lowest tier. You know, if I compare it to some of the other shirts here, no, I do prefer it. And Marathon, as a brand, have done some good stuff. I don't mind them at all. Yeah, I think what's from the deal when I saw it again, seeing the little the kind of the holes on the side there, in the stylized with the club crest. That's a fun detail. And John Carlo making a very fair point. The sponsor, because every time I see it, a beer company made their company beer. Indeed. Yeah, I think this has some this has enough to put it in the counter tier. It's very much on the border, but we'll stick it in this tier. I think the colorway as well works for me. It works. Things like the matching the colors across the shirt. Yeah, we'll go there. Seoul Eland, a very funny team name. I always think they're like an esports team, given their name. With New Balance. Now, this one has some interesting elements. I think, if we try and obviously looking at them as a set, it feels like a home and away that contrasts excellently, and the pattern is pretty crazy. We've got leopard spots across the whole of the body, and I really like that it continues across the body. It doesn't just it's not restricted to one portion. The sponsor, doesn't hurt the shirt. It's kind of funny having another sponsor, a bit like the New Balance logo with the N and the letter. I'm just going to close the door here. So this one has some nice elements. I think even though the collar's not to my personal taste, I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. The back net detailing is nice, very simple, but I mean, it's a leopard. It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, both these shirts, I actually think are pushing the Flames tier. And Enrique saying, Timmins didn't play for Barcelona, he was interested in kit pictures and friendlies. Okay. That's funny that they wheeled him out just for the promo shots. Yeah, this one, I mean, the one thing which I don't like, and this is across a number of New Balance kits, I don't like their latest iteration of the brand mark, where the logo is quite high on the sleeves. I think that is actually a negative on the recent New Balance kits. And for whatever reason, I prefer the white to the navy. So I think, yeah, if we just take these both and we'll rank them together, or we'll rank them separately, sorry, but rank them at the same time. I think even though they're essentially kind of mirrors of each other, the white one, I'm going to put the white one in the Flames tier. And we'll just sort our layers out here. This one, I think it does have some nice elements. Things like the pattern continuing across the main part of the body there. Something about this one is making me think it could be a candle tier. No, I'll put it in the Flames tier. I think as a collection, as a set, it's pretty nice from New Balance. It really is. Bespoke treatment. The collar's not to my personal taste, but that's not to say I think it is at least a bit more interesting than many of the collars we've seen. So we'll put it also in the Flames tier. I think this is decent from New Balance. New Balance have been a bit quiet recently. I'd say they're not as hot as they've been in other years, other recent years. But yeah, we're going to go. I think we're going to sit them both in the Flames tier. And John Carson, the MB mark on the sleeves is better than 3 white stripes over pound the kit. Yeah, I mean, I think the element itself I don't mind. It's more just the placement. But I do think, yeah, as a kind of design choice, as you say, it's not too overpowering, John Carl, and I do like that. Tokyo Verde. Now did we look at their home show recently? I think we did, didn't we? And we ranked it in the Ice Cube tier. How does that away shirt rank? Now this one, it reminds me a lot of, which year was it, the Juve? If we go to our football shirts, Juventus, they had a away, or was it a third shirt? Third shirt from 2017-18. That green is a bit different, but it reminds me of that. But the combination here is very interesting. It's a very, I mean, the base colour, almost like the kind of Venezia away shirt, the kind of slightly off-white colour. I think the things that I like least about, I mean, the colours I think are fantastic. They're really interesting. They're really unusual. It has that kind of marbly feel with the beige, almost looking a bit like a kind of rose gold almost. And the green, it doesn't really look like a football shirt, but I do like a lot of the elements. What I don't like, I'm not big on the brand mark. That just looks a bit naff. And also the sponsor placement looks very kind of odd, having it on one side. It kind of makes the shirt feel quite unbalanced. And the neckline is pretty bad. I just don't like that style. John Carr said the colour palette is bland. Yeah, I can definitely see that, John Carr. I actually think it brings something interesting. It's certainly unexpected. I don't think this is a great shirt. I think there's a lot of elements which do, as I mentioned, do feel a bit off. But I do think this is going to be in the camel tier. I think this is decidedly better than the home shirt, in my eyes at least. Although, the more, again, it feels like, I think from a colour perspective, I think this brings something to the table. A lot of the other elements of the shirt aren't as good, but I do think this has enough to make me think, oh, you know what, I'd give this, it's certainly above the home, and I think it's above most of the other shirts here. Again, interesting to know what you guys think, as always. I think were this some other colours, it would definitely be in the Ice Cube tier. But there's something about it. There's something about it for me anyway. But I think that brown logo it feels very small. When you've got the Tokyo Verde, and I don't love their rebrand for what it's worth, but that's another story. I think just the positioning feels a bit off. Again, I really don't like that neckline, but it's gone in the camels here. There's something there. There's a semblance of hope. Fortaleza. We are back in Brazil. We've been in Brazil a couple of times already today. Now what have we got here? An interesting, a vibrant set of kits. Now I don't know the manufacturer. Is it Duna and Felicia? I don't know if that's the name of the manufacturer or not. But you can see here, look at the colours. I mean, it's funny, on this promo shot, they've chosen a great location. You can see it's like the sand. It looks very vibrant, almost orange, like the shirts. Okay, Rika saying it might be manufactured self-made. That's interesting. Yeah, so just from a colour perspective, immediately I'm drawn to this. Now, like a lot of smaller manufacturers, there's elements which I think, oh, I wouldn't have done that. But when I look at this, the neckline, for example, not a big fan of that. But I really do. I mean, the crest execution, it's nice to see a plastic crest, albeit a very simple one, but it looks good. And the manufacturer logo is fine. Could be worse. I'm not a big fan of the kind of numbering there. I think just the line would have been a stronger look. But as a shirt, as a combo, it's very it's very eye-catching. If you look at the back neck detail is okay. Could be a bit more kind of refined. But I kind of like the idea behind this one. I do. I think there's something about it which actually makes me think we could be looking at a hot shirt. Which I'm kind of surprised myself. But the more I look at it, the more I think if it had a better neckline, maybe elements of the club crest or the cuff design here. But the fact it goes on the back, and this section again on the shirt kind of hurts the back. I think I'm going to stick it in the counter tier, but it's a good counter tier. We're talking about the orange shirt here first, but I think you could say the same for the blue one. I actually think this was close to being much higher, and fair play to the manufacturer. Some nice elements there for sure. John Carson is great for leisure wear as a kit. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's the thing. It definitely has that kind of beach shirt vibe, and it's probably just honestly, I think even just looking at it again, if the manufacturer, if they had a bigger budget, so to speak, I think you could be looking at something a bit higher. Again, having the same problem with the image, so we're going to try and do this again. I'll just quickly go here. There we go. I think, is it Chrome won't let you copy images if they're too big? I don't know if that's the case. If the kind of clipboard only has so much memory or whatever. I'm not sure, but anyway, that's beside the point. Very good. Another candle tier for the blue shirt, but pretty fun shirts and pretty interesting to see. Again, credit to the guys who have shot the shirt there. That image tells the story there. You can see the colours of the sand and the sea. It's very clearly communicated, and that's good to see. And Johnny's saying, yeah, pretty chill, no loud sponsors. Yeah, it's kind of nice to see that. The other kind of side of the coin, isn't it? I talk about how I kind of enjoy the kind of crazy sponsor shirts, but on the flip side, it's fun to see a shirt on the other side. But yeah, Enrique's saying we'll have to check out how it looks in game. I think exactly that. That's kind of one thing to look out for. We're back in Ecuador, Barcelona. The away shirt, and this is another interesting colourway. I actually kind of like that, guys. I actually kind of like this ever so kind of slightly green, grey shade. I don't know. To me, it looks like it's got a bit of green in that. But I kind of like that. And it's just the top of the shirt. I don't love this kind of the black, the way it cuts across. It's not great for me, but they've recolored the badge to fit the shirt. And I quite like green on the shirt. I don't mind the sleeves at all. Honestly, I think I prefer this to the home. And the home, if you remember, we put it in the candle tier. I think this is also in the candle tier. A bit higher than the home, in my opinion. I think I even like this more than the Tokyo Verde shirt. Now, again, I think there's something about this which I don't like at the top. I mean, it leaves the shirt, if we go back on the pictures, very kind of odd. It's not even square, is it? The way it kind of, at least on these promo pictures. So I'm not big on that. But there's something about that colourway which I'm digging. So this is definitely in the candle tier. It's honestly, it's kind of close to the flames tier, but it's not going to go there. I can't really overlook that top of the shirt. And yeah, John Carl mentioned about the beer sponsor. Indeed, no doubt where what sort of company the sponsor are. Yeah, no, we'll stick it next to the Tokyo Verde shirt here. I'm going to have to make an executive decision on how to deal with this board as it gets more and more full. Whether I start overlapping shirts, I think I might need to. I'm kind of hesitant to expand the size of the board now at this point. I think we're just going to get busier and busier. But yeah, solid effort from Marathon. I think just with a better top section here, we're looking at a Flames tier for sure. Now we go to a team I've not seen before. From Paraguay. Cerro or Cerro Porteño. With the usual apologies for my pronunciation. Quite a forgettable shirt, this one. I think this kind of look, the kind of gradient, kind of emanating waveform, however you want to describe these lines. I feel like, you know, we've seen it for quite a few teams. Something about this colourway as well, and this I assume is the home colours. So even though these are the club colours, it feels a bit, I hate to use the word tired, but I feel like it just doesn't have anything to stand out from the crowd. Now again, these are the home colours, so it's not that they would have necessarily changed them. But it just feels like quite a forgettable shirt. Now, is it actually clean enough that it's going to be in the candle tier? Potentially. Incidentally, those sleeve sponsors are the same as we saw on the Club Olympia shirt. Which is quite funny seeing the word Bristol there. But anyway. The Paraguayan Twin of San Lorenzo. Is that so, Mickey? Which would explain the colours. San Lorenzo also playing in similar colours, I believe, if I'm thinking of the right team. I think this is going to be, I hate to say it, but I think it is going to be an Ice Cube tier. And I don't think this is a bad shirt necessarily. I just think it's quite forgettable. I just think there's nothing about those stripes which excite me. And the colours, I feel like, you know, we're looking at, well, it just gets lost in the crowd. I think that's its problem. It's not necessarily a bad shirt. I don't think the details are bad or, you know, kind of taken away, and the sponsors are just completely fine. But yeah, I hate to say it, and it's in the Ice Cube tier shirt, not for the reasons some of the others are. You know, it's not in the reason in here for the same reason the Napoli shirt's here. But I think we could look to something like, I don't know, the Dundee shirt. Yeah, it just gets lots of the crowd. It's not one I'd look to pick up. It's not exciting to me at all, and I wouldn't describe it as a hot shirt. So there we go. Apologies to any fans of Porteño. Now the away, this is kind of funny. This is almost the other end of the spectrum. Wild, crazy design. Even though I don't like it, it's definitely memorable. I think it's probably also in the bottom tier. Although, the more I look at it, is it fun enough? Is it novel enough? Very interesting colour choice. I don't, the pink and the blue, it almost looks like it'd be a kind of, it would be a sort of fizzy drink or a, we call them slush puppies in the UK. A very nostalgic drink. I don't know if that's a universal thing. I'm trying to think of another term for them. But the kind of sugary iced drinks that you'd get. I think it's probably still in the ice cube tier just because it feels a bit wild. And the sleeves, I'm not sure how I feel about the sleeves, which I think it's interesting, but the kind of the blocked white sleeves with the body, I think it's a bit, it's not, I actually think the colours are kind of fun and interesting, but the execution, whilst I'm not being Enrique, the colour combination is nice, but the execution is not there. I think that's how I'd say it as well. I mean, the one thing I do like, and in its favour, you've got a completely different flavour to the home. And yeah, Enrique said there's also a very sweet fizzy drink with those colours here. Yeah. You know what? I'm actually going to put it in the candle tier. I do think, I mentioned quite often about how candle tier for me is when there's a flicker of something, an idea which maybe just wasn't fully realised. I think that is actually this away shirt, despite how mad it is. I'm going to put it in this tier. I much prefer it to the home. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's particularly refined. But I do think Puma and the club were onto something interesting here. Now let's tuck it in next to the logo without overlapping it. Huh. Yeah, very interesting. I mean, I might be wrong. I feel like I've maybe seen that pattern before, but correct me if I'm wrong. And Rick said the counter tiers almost run out of space. It is. I think that is our busiest tier, which I'm kind of expecting, honestly. I'm expecting either of these two tiers, they're going to be absolutely rammed. I want these two tiers. Honestly, I want to, keep the standard quite high for these tiers. Let's finish on this page. We'll do 3 more and then we'll call it a day. Rosario from Argentina. Great, memorable crest. We've had some good crests today, and this is certainly a memorable one. Now, I think a bit like the shirt we just saw, the home shirt we just saw, it feels just unspectacular. But is it kind of safe in a good way? I think it's close. I don't love this style of neckline. We've seen a few like this today. And I would prefer the stripes to go all the way. I think this probably is. I mean, they go on the back, which is good. That is a plus point. We like to see that. We like to see patterns on the back. That detail's completely fine. The jot tag, nothing special. I think this probably is a bit too boring for me. And I think, again, if we look at striped shirts, we're trying to compare striped shirts. I think we'll see better uses of the stripes. So I'm going to stick it in the bottom tier. But it's not far from the next tier. I think, from a colour perspective, these guys have got a nice colourway. I do love a yellow and blue colourway. But we're gonna leave it here. Unfortunately, chilling in the relegation zone in the ice cube tier. Will their away fare any better? Huh. Interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. Now, if we start with the positives, the fact that the stripe here is kind of novel, the way it goes on the sleeves. It looks to be the same, even the same thickness. John Cole said that's a proper football shirt, gets the job done but doesn't wow. Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I don't honestly. I think I actually prefer the home shirt, which means this is going to go. And I mean, you know, it is interesting. It is interesting. I think there's an argument to be had that this could be in the candle tier. I think because I've not seen this pattern before, it's a plus point. Yeah, you know what? I think I prefer this one to the home. There is something about that pattern. It goes on the back, which you have to rate. I certainly do like that. And whether it's even the sponsored version or the unsponsored version, I think there's enough interest there. It's close between this and the home shirt for which one I prefer. But I think I prefer this away. Again, I don't love the neckline. I've said that on a few shirts today. But I think I would put this in the candle tier. It's tight for a lot of these shirts. It is a bit of a coin flip, which is the nature of these tier lists. But let's stick it right on the border next to the home shirt. Yeah. I think the other things in its favour, again, the crest, I mentioned it a few times, but I do like their crest, which is a small plus point. Umbro have done much better, but also I don't mind that at all. Let's finish with Palmeiras again. Now, I quite like the home shirt. It's one of the best ones we've seen today, guys. It was right up here in the Flames tier. The away though, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not feeling that pattern. I'm not feeling. I mean, I think it's probably part of the kind of difficulty with this one is they've had such good shirts recently. I actually think this is going into the Ice Cube tier. Now, there might be a great story behind these words. I don't know because I don't read Portuguese, but yeah, I just don't like the creative direction here, which sounds very snobby of me to say, but I really do think this is an Ice Cube tier shirt just because I'm not a big fan of it. It feels kind of very just a bit like half an idea, but there's kind of a real lack of character for me, and I much prefer the home shirt. I think that's kind of two sides of a coin here. They had to use last year's away shirt on the Combo Cup because FIFA doesn't allow the writing on the shirt. Interesting, Enrique. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think Palmeiras, fans can't be too disappointed at what Puma have given them recently. They really have given them some good shirts. I think this is one of the weakest ones I've seen from them though. Oh, I've just flipped upside down. That's not what we want to do. Yeah, so we're gonna finish on a bit of a low note with the Ice Cube tier. For a greener future. Nice message, undoubtedly. We switch now to our main screen. In fact, no, sorry. Before we do that, go back to the hot wall so you can see where we ended up today. And as Enrique correctly said, we've ended up with a crowded candle tier. And to be honest, the board is starting to get more full. If we just look at where we're at, we are on page. So we made it all the way to page 5. I think we are actually closing in because from memory we've been on kind of page 7 or 8 roughly. No volcano shirts are going to make it. Exactly. That's the thing. I'm kind of happy, honestly, because I want this to be really exclusive. These are going to be the best shirts. For a shirt to get in here, it's got my stamp of approval, and I'm banking my my authority on these shirts here. We almost had with the Olympia shirt. Exactly. This was great. I do like the Palmeiras, but it's not the top tier. But there we go, guys. Let me know what you think in the chat as we begin to wrap up. But yeah, I do think I'm liking how this is panning out. We're only 3 weeks in. We've got a long way to go. We're only in February, guys. We've got months and months of new shirts. We've got all the major international releases, European releases to come. It's going to be very cluttered. Maybe we are actually just going to completely run out of space. But I'm really happy with how this is shaping up. It wasn't like the greatest day. I think actually we had, probably our fewest. I might be wrong, but our fewest shirts in this top tier. But then again, we had Bohemians, which are great. Soli Land has some great shirts. Of course, Club Olympia that we mentioned, Palmeiras that we mentioned. So there's a few entries, but yeah, most of it was in these two tiers. I had a lot of fun though, as always, guys. And as we just begin, yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's been good to chat about shirts and good to rank some shirts. Hope you enjoyed it as we've been going through. Of course, I'll just do a bit of housekeeping before we finish. If you're just on the stream and you've never subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We're very close to 3,000 subscribers. I might try and do something fun for 3K. I don't know how to think about that. But please subscribe. And you can even support me further on Patreon. Details are in the description. And there's some great benefits there. You'll get things like a free shirt and a copy of my magazine, which is coming up. And that is coming up very soon. I think by the time we're streaming next week, I'll have some pictures to show you guys of my new magazine. But that is all for today. So thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for your company. Be sure to check out previous episodes if you haven't seen previous episodes of the Hot Wall to see what we're doing and see some of the previous rankings we've done. But that'll just about do it for today. So I'll leave you with the outro screen. But John Carl, thank you, mate. Thanks for your comments and your chat as always. As John Carl says, see you on Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday. Our eBay Hunted stream will be back on Tuesday evening as well. But that'll do it for today. Thank you, everyone who's watching and has watched. If you're watching this on catch up as well, thank you. I know many of you can't make the live slot, and that's fine. But Jolly, thank you as well, mate. Take it easy too. I'll see you around. And yeah, guys, I'll leave you with the outro. Thank you so much. Have a good one.